Here's something that trips up a lot of business owners. You set up your domain, you connect your email, and everything seems to be working fine. And then months later, you find out your emails have been going to spam or getting rejected entirely, and nobody's told you. A lot of the time, the reason is SPF. So today I want to explain what SPF actually is, why it matters, and what happens if you don't have it set up, and how to find out in about 30 seconds whether your domain is missing it or not. So SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework. Sounds a little techie, but stick with me because the idea behind it is actually fairly simple. When someone sends you a letter in the mail, there's always a return address on the envelope. Now here's the thing, anyone can write anything in that return address. I could write your address on an envelope, send it to someone, and they'd actually think it came from you. Nothing could stop me. I wouldn't, but it's possible. Email has the exact same problem. Anyone can send an email that looks like it came from your domain, your company name, your website address, all of it. And for a long time, there was nothing in place to stop that from happening. SPF is how you fix that. It's basically a list that you publish alongside your domain that says, here are all the mail servers that are actually allowed to send email on my behalf. And when someone receives an email claiming to be from you, their mail server checks that list. Is this email coming from a source I trust? If yes, fine. If not, sus. Think of it like a club with a guest list. The bouncer isn't just going to let anyone in who says they're on the list. They're checking, and if your name isn't there, you're not going to get through the door. Now, where does this list actually live? It lives in something called your DNS records. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and the easiest way to think about what it is a phone book for your domain. It's a collection of settings that tell the internet important things about your domain, where your website is, where your emails should go, and yes, who's allowed to actually send email on your behalf. Your SPF record is just one line of text sitting in that phone book, and it looks something like this. Yes, that's a real SPF record. What it's saying is emails from this domain are allowed to come from Google's mail servers, and anything else, treat it with suspicion. And you can actually add multiple different sources to it. So if you're also sending email through a CRM or a marketing platform or a help desk tool, you can add all of those in your SPF record as well. And so what actually happens if you don't have SPF set up? A few things, and none of them are good. The first thing is that your emails are much more likely to go to spam. When a receiving mail server looks at an email from your domain and there's no SPF record to check against it, it has no way of verifying that you're a legitimate sender, and that's going to be a red flag, and mail servers don't like red flags. Second thing is your domain is wide open for someone else to impersonate. Without SPF, there's nothing to tell the world that only you should be sending email from your domain. Someone could send phishing emails in your name, and there's no technical barrier stopping them. Third, and this one became a hard requirement in 2024, is that Google and Yahoo now require proper email authentication for anyone sending bulk email to their users. And Microsoft actually followed in 2025 as well. No SPF, and you risk your emails being blocked at the door before they even get a chance to land anywhere. We're not talking about a nice to have anymore. It's now become a baseline requirement. And here's where it gets a little bit interesting though. Having SPF set up is one thing, but having it set up correctly is a whole nother thing. There's a quirk in the SPF standard where your SPF record can only trigger a maximum of 10 DNS lookups when it's being checked. And every service you add to your record, whether that's your email provider, your CRM, each one of those typically adds at least one lookup. And if you've been running a business for a few years and you've plugged in a bunch of different tools to send email from, you can easily blow past that 10 lookup limit. And what happens when you go over? Well, your SPF record actually just breaks and becomes invalid. And suddenly all those emails that should be passing as authenticated won't be. And here's that thing that makes this really annoying. It often happens silently, and your emails will still be going out and they just might not be landing where you think they are. On top of this, there's also a less known issue specifically with Microsoft 365 and Outlook inboxes where their mail servers have a very tight DNS sort of timeout limit, reportedly around 500 milliseconds for every DNS lookup. So if one of your services in your SPF record is a bit slow to respond, Microsoft will treat it as a failure, not a permanent error, a temporary one, but temporary errors still hurt your deliverability, and because they're intermittent, they're really hard to track down too. So you could have an SPF record that looks perfectly fine in every checker tool that you run, but still be actually having silent delivery problems to anyone on sort of Outlook or Hotmail. So if you are over the SPF lookup limit, there there are ways around it. You can use a service called SPF flattening, where that will take your record and get it under that lookup limit through flattening out the includes and listing out the raw IP addresses. That's something that Suped has as a feature in the platform, which I'll leave a link for in the description below. So how do you find out where you stand? Well, there are free tools out there that let you check all this stuff, and we've actually built a few of these over at Suped as well. I'll leave a link in the description below for our SPF checker, where you can just type in your domain and it will tell you in a few seconds whether you have an SPF record, whether it's valid, and if there are any problems with it. Super simple. The second one is actually the domain health checker, and this one's really useful if you want the full picture. Instead of just checking SPF on its own, it scans your SPF, your DKIM, and your DMARC all at once and gives your domain a score and flags anything that needs attention. If you've never checked any of this out before, start here, and if you find out that you don't have an SPF record at all, that will be one of the first things to fix. If you've got one but it's showing errors, you'll need to go through what's in it and clean it up. The checker will usually point you in the right direction. One quick thing worth knowing before you go and sort all of this out is that you can only have a single SPF record per domain. That's just a hard rule, and if you try and publish two, both of them will just become invalid and start failing authentication completely. So if you're adding SPF for the first time, make sure there isn't already one hiding in there for that domain. Also, you might come across two different endings when reading about SPF. There's all with a tilde and all with a hyphen. The tilde all is what's called a Softfail, and it just tells receiving servers that anything not on your list is probably not authorized, but to use their own judgment. And then the dash all is a hardfail. It says reject anything not on this list outright. Most people start with a Softfail while they're getting set up and move to hardfail once they're confident everything legitimate is covered. So to wrap up, SPF is a list that you publish for your domain that tells the world which mail servers are allowed to send email on your behalf. Without it, your emails are more likely to go to spam, your domain is going to be easier to impersonate, and you risk being blocked by all the major inbox providers like Google and Microsoft. Probably not ideal. It's probably one of the simpler things to get right, but only if you know it needs to be there in the first place. So check out your domain with the free tools, and if you haven't watched a DMARC explainer video yet, check that out in the description as well. Otherwise, if this was helpful, subscribe to the channel and chuck a like on the video too, and we'll see you in the next video.